Guys, today we are going to go to a head mount, and I'm going to make an attempt to try and figure out what's wrong with this pump today for the convertible top. I don't know if you guys saw my prior video. The convertible top I think took a shit on me on the last video or before the last video. So I tested power to the unit. Power was fine. Relays are clicking fine. So I'm thinking the actual pump is dead. So we're going to try and confirm that today. Again, I apologize for the lack of light. I'm getting another lighting fixture to put in here, actually right up on this bar, or this post right here, or a beam, or right behind it, so I can get some better light coming down into the top, or into the top of the car. So basically, to get the pump out, first thing you have to do is get these fittings off. There's one in the front and one in the back. You can see that these are 14 millimeter. Now it's probably gonna make a little bit of a mess. I already kind of popped out these pieces here. You gotta pop these out to get the pump out, and those are just kind of pressure fit in there. I'll show you once everything's out. We'll see if I can get enough pressure to get this off. So that actually came out pretty easy. I'm willing to bet that there's probably not a ton of fluid in here, but I may be wrong because it already looks like it's trying to seep out. Basically what I want to do, I want to get the pump out, and I want to see what the brushes are like in the pump. Apparently the brushes are known to take a shit in these, and sometimes you can rehab these cheaper than getting a new pump. So, not sure. Not sure if you can see that second plug back there. We'll try and get that out. Thankfully, these are fairly loose in here. Try and make as little mess as possible. Wrench go. So you got two 14 millimeter plugs there, and then that pump can come out. Now you see, let's see if we can get these to not leak. So see, it has these conical shaped rubber bushings, and basically you just pop those out. If you put a little bit of pressure up here and up there, they pop out of those. So when we're getting ready to put it back in, I will show you guys what they look like a little bit closer. But again, with that out, you can see, hopefully you can see, those are conical shaped, and they just fit inside these. And in here, there is some fluid. You can see a little bit of fluid leaked out of those lines. So there's fluid in there. However, it was a little damp in there with fluid, so I don't know if this thing's leaking fluid. Maybe we will find out in a little bit. So we're going to pop the electrical connector out, take your panel popper, get that off, and pop that. I always find these things are a pain in the ass, and they always end up breaking somehow, some way. Probably helps if I pry up on this a little bit. Sorry, space is a little tight here too because I didn't pull up the car enough to get the door all the way open, and I'm a little fat to get in here at times. Alright, pump is out. So not a ton of fluid came out of this, so I'm willing to bet this thing is fried from not having enough fluid in it. So hopefully you guys can see this. So you got this plug on the back, pump sits like this in the car. On the back side here is the plug that you pry out. Again, another one of those conical plugs. I'll go get my panel popper to pop that off. Maybe that'll make it a little bit easier. Alright, so you see it's got another one of those conical plugs. So right there is where everybody says, or not where everybody says, that's where you do it. That's where you fill the fluid. You put ATF in there, and I don't have a line small enough, but what I would probably do is something like that, or I have a small, that might be a little bit messy, but I do have a small funnel that I could try and get some fluid in there as well. I may have some other size lines around here somewhere, but again, I still haven't even fully unpacked for moving yet. So, you know, that's a whole nother story. So there's fluid on the one side. Yeah, there's fluid on the other side, so we're good there. So from what I hear, people say the brushes, oop, fuck. Forgot I had that plug out, Jesus Christ. Alright, we're going to take a minute to come and to clean this up and drain out all the fluid, and we'll be back. Alright, so we got the pump out. The pump is pretty much drained. What we're going to do is take off the top cover of this pump. I think the top part is where the brushes and shit are. So this is a 9mm to get these two screws out. And this is the original pump. The sticker on the front shows a date of 12/15/93, and my car was actually made in January of '94, I think the door sticker says. So this is the original pump. It's going on 24 years and just started giving me enough of a problem that the top won't go up. It's always been a little bit slow since I've owned it, but again, I didn't realize how slow it was until I saw a video from Late Model Restoration. Alright, so that's what the inside of the pump looks like. That's the motor assembly, and this is a bunch of grit and shit from the brushes. So looking at all that shit that's in there, I am going to put money on that the brushes need to be redone. I'll take these 3 or 4 little washers out and place them back down there. You know what? I don't even know why I bother doing that. I have air now. I could pull this shit out and blow it out. So yes, I know this sucks. I don't have a workbench in here. I have a workbench out in the shed, but I don't have electric out in the shed yet. So it makes it a little more difficult. Alright, so we'll blow a little bit out of there. And we'll come back to the motor assembly. And the motor assembly, I guess it pulls out like that. And you can see there's all kinds of shit in here from the brushes. Ball bearing popped out. Yes, I'm pretty sure that is trashed. Alright. Get my new magnet. Get that fucking ball bearing out of there. I'm pretty sure that ball bearing goes up top there. So it's still got a magnetic pull, but if you look inside there, those brushes are fucking trashed. Alright. Get that back in there. And there's a lot of dust on those brushes. A lot of shit in there, if you can see that. That's probably all beat up. Alright. So we'll throw that ball bearing over there. Clean some of this shit up a little bit. I'm just going to clean some of the motor dust up in here. It's probably about as good as I'm going to get it. And you can see all the shit in here going on the contacts. You can see these contacts are a little beat up. Get all this dust out of here, because maybe it's something as simple as something not making contact because it's dusty. I wouldn't think that's the case, but don't think that's the case, but again, you can never be too sure. If I can fix it, that would be great. So I guess when this makes contact, let's see here, so that probably provides a magnetic field through here, and I guess this is making a contact of some sort. Looks like a built-in switch of some sort. This brush area looks pretty beat up. But I know I was getting power. I was getting power to that area. Well, I was getting power to the plug itself. I don't know if that power was actually making it inside the motor or not. Let's see if I can remember how this went back together. Alright, so the way that holds in there. Alright, so if you can see how that holds in there, I'm willing to bet once that's energized, maybe it might adjust a little bit, but I'm thinking that those brushes are shot. Trying to see if there's any signs of them making contact. Looks like maybe it was making contact in there. This area up in here, I guess this is the actual area that gets energized. Them bad boys back on there. Just trying to see how the hell this was held on. That is on backwards. Yeah, there's so much shit coming out of that pump. A skinny enough screwdriver to get these washers out. All right, got the washers out. Fuck did that ball go? So you can hear it banging around in there. Once it's energized, it may float in there a little bit better, but I really have my doubts. These things get messy as fuck from the transmission fluid. Alright. Those washers back up there. Throw that ball back in there. The grommet back in there. And yeah, so that's what I'm willing to bet happened. This is not making contact. You see there's two tabs up there? That's what gives electricity, and that's what gives signal to those brushes. And I don't think it was touching those brushes. You can see it's getting misaligned there. So that is just wear and tear over the years. So there's little bolt holes that these have to line up to get back in. I don't know if you saw me trying to line those up here. First one is in. Second one is not in. Alright, now I think it's in. Alright, so get our 9mm. Get this patch back up and see if cleaning the brushes did anything. I doubt it did, but I have had some shit with motor problems. We're just cleaning up the brushes, and some of the shit in there was keeping it from making contact. And of course, my hands are completely greasy, which does not make this an easier job. Having an actual workbench makes this an easier job. I'm hoping I can trench some electric out to the shed in the springtime. Once the ground thaws a little bit, it'll make my life a lot fucking easier. Alright, we're going to come back in a little bit. I got to see how this is aligning and get this cleaned up better. This is not easy to do with dirty hands. So we'll be back. So I think I found what the problem was with the motor. This little piece, I don't know how much you guys can see of this. This is one of the contacts I was showing that went up in this top part that energized it and probably caused it to spin. If you can see on the back of this, there may be some, actually there's a hole right there. So that probably doesn't help. But on the back there is a piece missing that helps it sit in the channel. That actually popped off. Again, I don't know how much of this shit you're going to be able to see. But in there, let me see if I can get my light. Alright, so in there you can see that there's that copper thing, the copper contact that is held in there. I don't know if you can see that there is actually copper on the back of that, and that copper lead actually holds that in there. So put this back on my head and see if I can get two hands. So if we pull that copper lead out, and it won't come out anyway because it was fused in there probably, but that one side was fucked up. It wasn't holding in there. You can see the copper lead right here, and if you look at this side, there's nothing to hold it in. So I can stick that back in there, and push that spring back. There's nothing to hold it in there if I put that lead back in. So it's just gonna pop right back out. I could probably solder that lead in, but is it worth doing it on a 24-year-old motor? I mean, it's not going to hold in there anyway, but I think that that's what the problem was. It probably wasn't making good contact, and that thing is blown through. So that thing's pretty much fucked. I'm not even going to bother doing any more with this. I mean, it's a 24-year-old motor. We can see how much dust and shit is in there. This thing was questionable anyway. I could probably just get a new top hat. I don't know what the motors are, 200 bucks maybe, something like that. I'm gonna see if I can get one off of Rock Auto cheap. Somebody on Facebook offered me one for free if I paid shipping, so I may hit him up on that and see if I can get a good one free with shipping. So we'll come back a little bit later. I was thinking about rekeying the lock cylinder, so we're going to take a look at that in a little bit, see how that comes apart, and see if we can rekey that lock cylinder.